My husband and I started Discover Paris, 1999. We originally created the business to focus on personalized itineraries for independent travelers. And we wanted people to see Paris reflected in their own interests. And so as an African American woman, I know that whenever African Americans travel, wherever they travel, they are looking for what is happening. Is there any Black presence there? Is there any Black presence of any kind? And is there an African American presence there? And so in keeping with the theme of exposing Paris to people reflected in their own interests, I started to research the African American presence in Paris so that I could present that to our clients. We focus on walking tours because we believe truly that walking is the best way to experience Paris. And we try not to overwhelm. So our walks are limited, with just a couple of exceptions. Our walks are limited to 2 hours. We started with 4 principal walks based on different areas of town. So areas that, first of all, would attract tourists, areas like around the Champs-Élysées, the left bank, which is where the Sorbonne is located and where lots of writers were, in the Montparnasse area, which focused primarily on artists. And we did a walk in the Pigalle area, which is south of the hill Montmartre, where we focused on the interwar years and jazz and the musicians. There are other things woven in there, but those were largely the 4 areas. And as we grew and as I learned more, because I do bring sort of a scientific mindset to this kind of thing, and I'm very, very meticulous about my research, we created more walks. We created walks that feature specific writers and artists. So we have a walk that features Richard Wright, one that features James Baldwin, one that features Langston Hughes. Our most recent walk features Beaver Delaney. And then we have a walk in a particular area of Paris that has a large West African population. So, and it's actually called Little Africa by some. So we go over there and we explore that neighborhood and we explore how those people came here and what's happening there today. French people are always surprised to find out how much African American presence is here. We have 2 versions of a 2-hour walk in the Luxembourg Garden, and you tell French people that there's that much history of Black people, and they're just like, what? They can't believe it. And for African Americans, it's a source of validation. Your average French person, when they think about African Americans, they'll think about Josephine Baker, because she's just famous. She became French. She has another just incredible story. And we have 3 walks that feature Josephine. But the average French person will think about Josephine Baker and think about jazz. I mean, that's really, and it's a stereotype. It's not in a bad way, but that's just what they know. And so when they find out that there was this whole, for over a century, waves of people coming over, people who are living here now, it's somewhat of a surprise to them. We also do a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation called Black Paris and the Myth of a Colorblind France. And the myth of a colorblind France is what African Americans are sort of tapped into. A lot of them don't realize that it's a myth. Okay, so what they know is that African Americans could come here and they were treated well and they could make their lives and they could go on about their business and just be who they are without, quote unquote, without facing racism. And so they wanna know all about that. And then when they take our walks, they learn about the nuances of that. They learn about how even African Americans at certain periods of history were not treated so well here because of the overall American influence and the fact that when white Americans came here, they brought their prejudices with them, and in some instances they were able to get French people to act upon those prejudices, and so we did suffer some discrimination here. They also learned that there's a whole different side of the race story that in France that is based on an entirely different history, and how that plays out differently and a lot more subtly on the ground here. So it's just extremely complicated, but it's also extremely enlightening.